I'm not a lawyer, but today a jury awarded Meg Thee Stallion thousands of dollars in damages in her lawsuit against blogger Milagro. And while it is overall a win for Meg, before the verdict, Milagro's team made an interesting argument regarding Milagro's status as a media defendant and why the defamation claim should be thrown out. And the jury seemed to agree with her. So let me give you the recap as to why this media defendant status could change how much Milagro has to pay out. So, quick refresher, Meg was suing Milagro for defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and promotion of an AI video that was depicting Meg in an intimate act. And this all stems from Tory Lanez shooting Meg Thee Stallion in the foot and the commentary that Milagro had before, during, and after Tory's criminal trial. Now let's get to why this defamation claim is seemingly going to be thrown out. So in Florida, which is where this lawsuit was filed, if a defendant is qualified as media, meaning someone who acts as a journalist or news outlet, they get a special legal protection. It basically means that if you are deemed media, before someone can sue you for defamation, they first have to send you a formal notice that they plan to sue you so that you have the chance to correct or retract whatever you said. And if you really are deemed media by the court and you are never served that notice, that defamation suit or claim against you could be thrown out entirely. You see where I'm going? Well, for this case, Milagro's team argued that she is media. They said her online moniker, Milagro Grams, is trademarked as entertainment. They said her platform, Mob Radio, is a registered LLC. They said she has a contract with Station Head for Mob's Radio. She's interviewed public figures like Judge Joe Brown, Nicki Minaj, and Bia. And she's appeared on, moderated, and been featured on panel discussion and commentary-styled shows, all of which they say shows that she is a media defendant. Yet, she was never served the formal notice from Meg's team, which means she was never given the opportunity to retract or change what she said. And therefore, her team argued that the defamation claim must be dismissed. Now, Meg's team, on the other hand, argued that Milagro is not media. They said she has said herself that she's not a journalist or a reporter, and at one point she said, quote, "I shouldn't be regarded as a news source any damn way." And so Meg's team says they were never required to serve her this notice. And so that became a big question for this case. Is Milagro truly a media defendant? And the judge left that question up to the jurors. The jurors had to answer a few questions regarding if Milagro was acting as a media outlet when she made the defamatory statements against Meg. And for context, some of the defamatory statements were: all this case taught anyone was that your father, brother, cousin, or son could face over 20 years in prison without proper evidence, a botched investigation, and another likely suspect just because non-credible witnesses said you did something and y'all slow asses cheering. Another statement: I believe that this is exactly how they feel about you, Megan. I believe that this is exactly how they feel about you. We know you a lying asshole and you have absolutely ruined Tory's life. Another statement: was Megan Thee Stallion caught trying to deceive the courts again? And some of the other statements were: let me go find this receipt of Megan's ex-bestie telling me she wasn't effing T. Ferris, that's her guardian. And another statement: what is Megan's mental status? Does she have a guardian or not? Has she been listed as a capable person? Has she ever been deemed like legally the R word? Like anything of that nature? Anything of the sort? And then more statements: you ought to be somewhere for your alleged crimes, drunkie. Why do you even speak? Like, does your liver even function well? And another statement: Miss Pete comes from a family of alcoholics, because the fact of the matter is you have a grandfather that was an alcoholic. Was your daddy on drugs, or was he in and out of the system? What was that? Do you want to talk about that? Is stealing worse than drugs? So those are the defamatory statements. But again, the question is Milagro considered media? So here is how the court defined a media defendant. The instructions given to the jurors said that a media defendant is someone who is engaged in the dissemination of news and information to the public in order to initiate uninhibited, robust, and wide open debate on public issues. And so the questions the jurors had to answer was: number one, if during the time period when Milagro made the statements I just read, was she providing disinterested and neutral commentary rather than advocacy for a particular client or personal interest? And to this question, the jurors said no. When she was providing those statements, she was not providing neutral commentary. The next question, and this is all on the verdict form that they had to answer, was: during the time period when Milagro was making the statements, was she regularly disseminating news or information to the public rather than making a one-time video or comment? And to this question, the juror said yes, she was regularly disseminating information. Question number 3 was: during the time period, was Milagro impartially disseminating information? And to this, the juror said no. She was not impartially disseminating information. The next question was, during the time period, was Milagro operating for the purpose of informing the public about matters of public concern through news, reporting, analysis, or commentary? They said yes. The next question was, during the period, do you find that Milagro was functioning in a manner similar to traditional news media, such as newspapers, magazines, TV, radio, and other online equivalents? And to this question, the jurors said yes. She was basically like other media outlets. And then the final question was, do you, the jurors, find that Milagro should be treated as a media defendant with regards to the statements she made in this case? And to this question, the jurors said yes, she should be treated as media. So while some of those questions went back and forth, the final question seems pretty clear. And the judge previously said that the final judgment would reflect if the jury considered Milagro media or not. And so in layman's terms, what that means is, while the numbers on this verdict form total 75,000, 16,000 of that is for the defamation claim. So if the defamation claim is thrown out, as the judge indicated she would do if the jurors found Milagro to be media, that means Meg would really walk away with 59,000, 75 minus 16. But that doesn't include the attorney's fees that Meg could also be awarded. So the final number is probably going to be different than everything that's being reported today. But regardless of that, I found this whole media defendant argument to be interesting, especially considering people like me and many other people who are doing this kind of independent reporting. And I'm curious how y'all feel. Do you think there should be a difference between people who report neutrally versus people who add more commentary with their reporting? Do you think this wave of new media should be viewed like more traditional media, or is it something completely different to you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And I think I'm going to talk about this on my podcast this week. So if you want to share your thoughts directly with me, you can do so at speakpipe.com/ImNotALawyerBut. Go leave me a message and tell me what you think. Also, I am so close to reaching 100,000 on YouTube, so please go subscribe. My goal is to hit it before the end of the year. I got a month left. Okay, bye.